Last October, Italian band DGM came out with a new album called Endless, and that may have surprised fans a bit because their previous effort, Life, came out just a year before that. Endless is a bit of a twist in the turns of DGM's career. It's a concept album about the road less traveled, to quote Robert Frost, if you will, about measuring what a life has been like, how it might have been different, and what changes need to be made to provide more fulfillment for the future. Musically, Endless refers back to some of the great foundational prog bands like Yes, Kansas, Jethro Tull, and many, many more. I'm Mark Boardman of Sonic Perspectives, and we are talking with Simone Mularoni, the guitarist, composer, producer, whatever else he wants to be for DGM. Simone, how are things going today?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me and for the great introduction. Never hear
It's
so many great things in one sentence.
yeah, we try and stretch the sentence out as long as we can. Um, when a lot of people were facing the COVID situation between, say, 2019 or so and 2022, they pretty much went into hibernation. They didn't do much. What we see, though, from you guys is between 2020 and 2024, you came out with three albums. How did that come about?
I think, in the past, I've been playing with the band. The band exists since forever, even before me. But when I joined the band in 2005, 7, and we've always done like album and then like 2, 3 years of live shows and then a new album. And then, of course, with the COVID thing, and it was really pretty bad in Italy too. So we were forced without live shows. So what else a musician can do, like other than playing guitar, listening to music, and writing stuff. And I'm lucky enough that I have my new studio right behind my home. So I didn't have to take the car and go to another place to record or write. So basically, my routine was just to wake up, have coffee, and listening to great music and come up with some ideas, hopefully good. And that led to, of course, to a pile of new music, and in the band, I'm always like 99% of the time I'm writing everything, like all the songs,
Yeah.
music at least. So I was piling all these ideas and I was starting to throwing them to the guys in the band because we live like the other guys live in the south of Italy. So we were like 5 hours drive far from each other. So we always exchange stuff like via internet or whatever. And and every time I have like I don't want to say a finished song, but like the basic structure, like a riff, a vocal chorus. I always send the thing to the guys, and they're supposed to say, "Oh, it's good," right? Right?
Sure.
Usually it's like that. I'm always autocritic, like 300%. I always throw away so many ideas because I'm not happy with them. So usually when I send them ideas, it's pretty much they end up on the record. But this time we had so much stuff and the initial idea with this Endless and Life album was to have like a double album. I don't know if you're familiar with Opeth. We're all fan of Opeth, of course,
Yes.
and we thought, why don't we do like one side being the heavy? Not that we're playing heavy as Opeth did in the past, but like the more double bass, power metal kind of prog power thing, like kind of Symphony X style that we
Sure.
always did in the last 15 years. And the other side was supposed to be more mellow, like more acoustic with flutes and all these new elements. New for us. And and then we had so much material, and that was the initial idea to have like this big double album. But then the label came in and was like, "No, guys, we have too much stuff to put out." And nowadays, double albums, people attention is really short, you know. So why don't we do like one of the album first and then the other one? But what we did is like record them both at once. So that's why the time span between Endless and Life was this short, because we actually finished Endless when I finished recording Live. So it was ready already, right? So we delivered to the label and we said to them, put out as soon as you can, because we don't like to have songs in our computer, and we always want people to hear them, you know, as soon as possible. Especially with this Endless one, because we were, I mean, not that we were tired of playing, you know, the prog power metal thing, but you know, it's been quite a while that we were doing the same cycle of things, and the same, you know, ideas start to yeah, starts to tend to be the same over and over, you know. We felt that we needed like some changes. I mean, not drastic changes. We're not playing like trap music or hip hop music, but you know, it's like adding some spice here and there, you know, like some, my keyboard player is a genius, is playing all these instruments, violin, flute, and you mentioned, you name it, you know, all the all different instruments. So why don't we take advantage of that? And yeah, thanks. I mean, that's a good thing. One of maybe the only good thing from COVID era, you know, that we had time. We had time to spend on the music.
Sure. Was Endless supposed to be a concept album from the very start?
Yes, but we didn't. I mean, most bands start with the actual story, you know, like the theme, the lyric. And we didn't have that, but I really wanted to do a concert because, you know, during the COVID thing, one other thing that I discovered was I actually bought a turntable, which I
Hmm.
didn't have at home. And I started to pick all my father is a guitar player, so he plays guitar and is all into the 70s, you know, like from Deep Purple, from actually before that, Cream, you know, like King Crimson, through all the 70s band, both prog and straight rock and roll. And I started to grab all his vinyl. So I was bringing home, you know, like Genesis discography. So during COVID, I was like sitting down in the evening and going through the discord. You know, I heard all those albums, but not that with that uh, grade of attention, if it makes sense. You know, like it was in the past. Oh, okay, now I know Genesis. I listened once, but I never dug, you know, that deep. And that's why I did. That's what I did also in the COVID thing, like discovering a lot of new music. I mean, new music for me, actually,
Huh?
old music from the 70s, and but also new stuff like bands that I love now, like Porcupine Tree and Steven Wilson. I never actually listened to the guys, and I don't know why, you know, because you're I'm I work in the studio every day, like 10 hours per day, and I'm always surrounded by other people's music every day, like editing, recording, mixing. So in the evening, I'm really tired, you know, of listening to music. So I was stuck in my usual, you know, favorite bands, being like Kansas or Symphony X, whatever. And now in the past like 4 or 5 years, I discover so much new music and I'm blown away, you know, because you discover all these great artists that are, and then one band leads to another, you know, so it's endless. And all those elements brought, I mean, coming back to your question, now I'm talking too much. I mean, the prog thing is every prog band has one at least concept album, you know? So
Yeah.
when we decided, okay, we want to do like a more prog rock album, we needed to have a concept album. But I started to write the songs without a theme in mind, but I had the musical themes, the recurring themes. And then my bass player and drummer, because I'm really terrible at writing lyrics. So I mean, I know my limits. So I asked them, oh, guys, do you have any ideas? Oh yeah, yeah. And they sat down for a month or two and they come up with all the lyrics based on the music that I already. written before. So that's how it happened.
The lyrics, the story of the album, as I said, is sort of like the lo road less traveled. What might have been if the person who's
Exactly,
singing
exactly.
had decided to go in a different direction. Um, was this contemplative kind of thing? Um, was this the result of COVID and a lot of thinking, or was this just, especially the other guys, getting to a point in life where those natural questions come about?
That it's absolutely that. I mean, it's not COVID. I mean, that helped, I mean, didn't help our mine especially, but other guys too in the band, like mental stability, because you're facing a situation that is not common. I mean, it's not even rare. It's like once in a lifetime, hopefully.
Mhm.
And but that, I mean, it's exactly as you said. I mean, the other guys especially those two guys that wrote the lyrics, they're a little bit older than me. Like they're more in the 50s. I mean, the drummer is 50 years old and the bass player is like 48. So they're actually we started the band when I joined the band. It was way more like party, rock and roll, like drinking and all that, And now it's like kids, divorce. We never wrote lyrics about like fantasy story or like it's always down to personal experience because it's more true in my opinion. And also we being Italian, we don't have the, as you can hear from my talking, we don't have the vocabulary, like and with English words, all the words and all the things. So we try to keep it simple and just to communicate our feelings and our emotions. That's basically what we try to do. I mean, of course, we're all fan of the biggest. I mean, my favorite concept albums are like Operation Mindcrime, Shadow Gallery, Tyranny, all these great stories with great music. But we thought to ourselves, if we don't have a great idea, then it's better to talk about some deeper and inner things, rather than coming up with a average thriller story. That's it basically.
You you mentioned that the other guys came up with the lyrics, and so the approach to the concept album. And with you being a bit younger, you haven't reached that point in life, but are you able
I
to
am now.
relate at all to that question of what might my life have been like if I had tried to do something else, if I weren't a producer, I weren't a guitarist, if I weren't a composer? Have you gotten into that a bit with this album, you personally?
Yeah, yeah, not about the music because I'm pretty I will say not cocky, but I'm pretty confident about what I can do in the music things. If we talk about life, like personal life, then it's all another level.
Sure.
And I'm a little bit younger than the guys, but I have the same question every day. You wake up and you're, oh, what if I did that, with my girlfriend, with my wife, with, everything. What if I did another job 20 years ago? Whatever. It's endless. That's why the title. But about music, I never, yeah, I mean, I always wonder because I always produced and recorded my own albums. I always wonder every time, what if I pick a different producer and I'm just being the musician?
Mhm.
But then, I'm so obsessed about the details and control. I don't know, how do you call it? Control freak? I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
that I will probably go crazy because the very first experience that I had with DGM when I joined them, the first album that we did together, actually they didn't trust me because I was really young and I
Uh-huh.
was so another guy did all the mixing and recording and I just played guitar and
Yeah.
I went crazy because he had of course his own ideas, but I had exact vision of the album when I wrote it. So I told the guys, okay, if you want to keep on with me in the future, then I have to mix and record. And then of course they knew me better, year after year, and now they don't even. I mean, now it's the opposite. Hey guys, can you help me? No, you can do all by yourself,
Yeah.
So it's, but who knows in the future, because it will be great. For me, maybe the best thing will be to have someone that I really trust and that maybe has the exact vision that I have, sound wise and sonic wise. I mean, about the whole production.
Who do you really trust?
Other than myself in
Yes.
music.
Yeah,
I mean, I have some idols like producers and stuff, but it's not that I mean, of course, I love them all. I like Jens Boger and all the big producers and stuff, but I will need to know him personally, like, hang out, having dinner, talk about music and about choices in production. So maybe, I don't know, maybe another bandmate that, I totally trust my bandmates, no, but not when it comes to sound, sound decision, because they're doing other jobs in their life.
sure.
They're not
Hmm.
mixing and stuff. So, and about songwriting, I actually trust them a lot, but and that's why we have a lot of discussion, because yeah, I write everything, but I always send them stuff and I always expect some feedbacks, so many times there's like, oh, I will go different in that chorus, and I'm like, no, I'm 100% sure that it's going to work. And then you fight, but I mean, we're playing together since almost 20 years, so
Yeah.
it's like,
Hmm.
maybe you have a discussion, you have one evening that you're like, oh, I hate them all. And then the day after, you just listen back to their ideas and you're like, oh, you put the ego aside. And then it's better for the song. In
Yeah.
the end, it's all about the songs.
Hmm. I think I read somewhere an interview that you did that part of the difference with this album is that you wrote at least some of the music using acoustic guitar. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I've been playing guitar since forever, since I was like 16, and now I'm 44. But I never had an acoustic guitar. I mean, I don't know why. It just happened that I was
You
playing
didn't even
electric
have one
guitar.
of those really cheap things when you were a little
No, no,
kid?
no. Can you believe it? No.
Oh,
And then during COVID, I turned in 2021, I turned 40, and I said to myself, okay, now I need a great gift, and I'm not about cars or whatever. So I just bought myself a great acoustic guitar, like a good one.
yeah.
Also, I use it in the studio all the time when I have clients, if they need a good acoustic, I needed to have one. And I fell in love, and like for 6 months, I only played that. So I came up with this endless, again, the word comes up again, endless list of ideas, like being two chords or like vocal line or guitar line. And yeah, of course, the album turned out, it's a heavy rock album, of
Yeah.
course, but it began with the acoustic guitar. I mean, all the ideas were like strumming in the couch, in the evening. So that's how it came up.
Hmm. Well, you certainly can hear a difference between that and the previous album. Certainly, you not only have that basis, but you got the flute and the violin and some other, if you will, more acoustic
Yeah, yeah,
instrumentation to
yeah.
toss in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the previous albums were basically written on electric guitar with full blast of gain, high gain. And the basic thing was, for me, was always been like, I want to impress people with the fastest whatever riff or unison with the keyboard. It's something that you have like when you're 20 years old, and it's stuck with me for like 15 years. 15 years probably. But then, even this, especially discovering all these great artists. I mean, especially like Porcupine Tree or Neil Morse. I mean, all these great records. And I was like, oh, I really love that stuff. Even if it's not like flashy or, like super technical. I mean, we proved that in the past.
Yeah.
And it's starting to get boring for us, for all of
Mhm.
us. I mean, we were playing the old stuff like 2 years ago, like for a concert. and I saw the other guys' faces while we were in the rehearsal space. It was like robotic thing. Okay, we have to play this song, you know? There wasn't the excitement that it was in the beginning. Then I asked to the guys, what should we do? Like just split up? Just because we're boring? No. I mean, we actually told to ourselves, we gave ourselves limits, but it was us giving ourselves limits. Oh, we shouldn't do acoustic stuff. We should go like fast because people likes that, you know? But then we realized that we're not Metallica, we're not Dream Theater, we're not selling millions. So who cares? I mean, if we want to do like a 70 albums or the next one, I don't know, maybe like without guitar solos or like totally different. I mean, no, it would never happen. But I mean, that's how I think the band was born again, like completely refreshed. Now when we are in the rehearsal space, we have fun. No, after 20 years, we have fun again, you know? And you can tell to other people, to other guys in the band, when we play the old stuff, it's always like, oh, okay, that song again, you know? But you have to play it, of course, because if people come to the show, they want to hear every song,
Of
from the
course.
past. But
By changing things up and going in a somewhat different direction with this album, does it give you a different perspective on the older stuff so that you can infuse it with a little bit more energy and enthusiasm?
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's for us. It's strange. We played in Japan in November, and it was our third time, but it was the first time that we played this new stuff,
Mhm.
and it was strange because the reaction when you play heavy and fast stuff, people go crazy. Like they go crazy. They. But when you play the new stuff, which is more, I mean, we're not playing like soft rock prog from the 70s. It's always like energetic things, but it's less speedy. I don't know, less speed, less fast. And people were like, "Oh, okay, now I'm gonna listen to music rather than drinking 5 beers and go crazy." So it's a different for us. It's a different thing. But what we did in this album with Endless, we were trying to only playing that kind of music. But this really led us to let us think, okay, now we can do whatever we want. Maybe next album will be one song super heavy and the other like acoustic with mandolin or whatever. So it gave us it gave us the freedom and to open our mind in songwriting. And that's why, I mean, we were thinking now about a new album, but we don't have an idea. We don't want to do like, okay, let's do a 70s album, like a 70s style album, or let's do a power metal album. Let's do whatever we like. So it's uh, maybe one song is pop, one song is like rock, one song. I mean, we all love every kind of music basically. So,
Sure.
but you always have, especially me myself, and I know it's a problem that I should work on. I always have this anxiety of people reaction, and it's easy. Our last, I don't know, for 5, 6 album, they all were great in critics, and people, oh, DGM are great, they play so great. And so I was like, okay, if I keep doing that, I will always receive good reactions, so it's safer, it's your comfort zone.
Yeah.
This time I was more anxious, like, okay, now I'm changing some stuff. What if people hate it? Like, and then, I mean, and then I just realized that, okay, some people will hate the new stuff, but maybe we'll gain some new fans, some new listeners. Like I see with journalists too. I mean, there were a couple that I knew them since forever.
Mhm.
I was doing interviews since forever, and when I did interview for this album, this guy started with like, oh, I hated the new album because there's too much instrumental stuff, there's too wanking with all this acoustic guitar. I like speed, and I was like, okay. But I told him, if you listen carefully, the soul of the band is still there. I mean, the choice of the notes, the songwriting style. I mean, the vocal lines. It's always the same because it's us.
Yeah.
It's just the instruments that we use and the arrangements that are different, but I mean, whatever.
What was the reaction of the fans in Japan to the new stuff?
It was again, it wasn't like they go crazy. It was super, they were super, how do you say in English? Like it's like they were studying us, like,
Yeah.
oh, now we want to analyze this stuff. It's more prog, prog,
Right.
prog
Sure. Hmm.
rather than in the past. And it was fun because we played 2 gigs in the same club, and the first night we played all songs from live, like, and the old stuff, like the heavy stuff. And the second night was we played more of endless stuff, so it was 2 different nights. And you could see, I mean, people first night they were all "Ah," and and the second night they were all like this, standing and watching. So to us in the beginning was like, oh, maybe they don't like it, but then we realized that it's just they were listening more because rather than going crazy and get drunk. And that's a good thing because it's what I do when I go to gigs. I mean, I'm not going crazy. When I go to gigs and concerts, I want to listen to music. So I don't care if I'm on a chair, if I'm standing up. I just want to listen to music. So that's what I want to go with my band. I want to go towards that direction.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, it's certainly in the epic that closes up the album, um, of Endless Echoes, which is the 14-minute track. There are elements of both of those things, if you will, the prog more thoughtful and the blazing stuff. You've got a 2-minute guitar solo in
Yes.
there, and
Yes.
that just shakes everything up. Uh, was this something you planned? Did you sit around for days going, I'm going to get this guitar solo, or did you do it more or less spontaneously at the time?
No, I mean, that song is actually my favorite from the record, but no
Hmm.
one is ever talking about that because people listen to singles, and maybe they're too lazy to listen to a 14 minutes. And probably a lot of people got like scared, oh,
Yeah.
14 minutes. Not the prog people. I mean the heavy, straight heavy metal listeners. And so in the beginning I had this old acoustic intro that I never thought, oh, it's an intro of an epic. But it really came up. I mean, the whole song, it came up in one day. Like it wasn't planned, like in weeks. Sometimes I spend months on one song of 3 minutes because I don't like it and I change it. But then that song I clearly remember with acoustic going through the whole thing, recording in my phone, and then it's done. And the solo, I had the idea of doing, yeah, a long solo, but I never did in my life like 2 minute solo because all the licks that I know finish in 30 seconds. After that it's all repeating. But then I think I was listening to Hand Cannot Erase. No, no, actually it was The Raven Refused to Sing of Steven
Steve
Wilson.
Wilson. Hmm.
Yeah, and there's this Drive Home song, this beautiful song. I mean, I got chills while I'm talking about it. And there's this beautiful soul of Guthrie Govan, and I thought, okay, I want to do something like that. This endless solo, which is not always like shredded. Most of it is like melodic. And that
Yeah.
brings to the very grand finale, the ending of the song with all the orchestra stuff. So that was planned a little bit. I mean, the length of that. I
Yeah.
just play, I always do that with solo. I loop the section and I just have fun because that's the most funny part. I just have fun playing, and then if I come up with something interesting, oh, I like that, and I keep that, and then I build piece after piece. And then when we go live, I have to learn it like from the beginning to end, and that's the tough part. But in the studio, it's always like that. I always go like piece by piece. But the
Yeah.
rest of the song came up really quickly. Like
Hmm.
when you have idea, I'm always like that. I never sit down and I say to myself, "No, today I write something." I always wait. I always wait for ideas. Sometimes in 3 months nothing comes up, and I panic because I think, oh, I will never be able to write stuff again in my life. And then maybe three songs come up in like 1 week.
Mhm.
I know it's
Uh, that particular song of Endless Echoes, you referred to it, it's sort of challenging for the audience because it's something different. But it seems to me, in listening to it several times, it's also challenging for the band. Have you been able to perform this in concert?
not yet live because we thought, I mean, when we play nowadays, the shows we're playing nowadays, it's always a mixture, of the old stuff and the new stuff. And we have so many songs from the past that we want to play because they're, I mean, I don't want to say classics. We're not the Purple, unfortunately, so we don't have Smoke on the Water to play, but we have some songs that we have to play, and
Sure.
we already 1 hour of set list with those songs, and then we have 4 or 5 songs of endless, of course, the singles, and then the time is over. So we just we just thought, okay, we will maybe play the whole album in its entirety,
Hmm.
but with a dedicated evening.
Yeah.
So when that time will come, then we'll have to learn the songs. But I don't think it's technically so difficult. I mean, we played way more technically difficult stuff in the past, but it's
Hmm.
more like remembering all the parts.
Yeah.
That's because again, we're not living near from each other, so we don't rehearse that much. We actually
Hmm.
never rehearse, basically. Maybe one time before the gigs, before taking the airplane. So it's hard, to keep up with remembering all those parts and all the changes.
Yeah.
It's That's the most difficult part, rather than the technical difficulties on the instrument itself.
That's an interesting point. I know that you have said that Kansas, the band, is one of the influences that you've had.
Favorite.
And
Yeah,
in talking with Rich Williams, the guitarist, and a couple of the other guys in the band, they say that the toughest song that they have to do in performance is Song for America, because to remember all the
yeah,
changes
yeah.
and everything, the way it comes together, is a real challenge, even after 50 years of playing it night after night after night.
Yeah, yeah. I think Kansas. The biggest fan, so I love them, and I think they never wrote something that was beyond their abilities in terms of like technical difficulties.
Mhm.
Because they're great musician, of course, the bar is really high.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is difficult, but not for them mainly. And that's
Mhm.
that's the same thing that I approach when I write stuff. I never write stuff that are like 130% of my abilities. Otherwise, live, I will struggle a lot because when you're live, you have to think about the pressure you have. You have a short time to the changeover on the set. I mean, and you're in front of people. You're not in the studio like relaxed in front of the computer. So I always try to, and if I come up with something that I like, which is really difficult, then I start. That's when you study. I mean, you sit down and you practice. I mean, it's boring, but it's what you have to do. But then again, as you said, it's totally different learning a difficult passage because it's difficult with your hands and opposed to remembering. If we have
Yeah.
a song for America, for example, it's 10-minute song and it's always different,
Yeah.
except, in the beginning, the end, you reprise, but mainly it's always different. So it's really easy to, oh, which part is next? Is that
Hmm.
one in five or the one in seven? So I mean, when we did when I wrote the 14-minute song, I didn't think about the live situation. But
Hmm.
then when it will be the time to play that, I'm sure we will struggle of I mean, we're struggling now with the intro of the album, which is
Yeah.
like 4-minute instrumental, but still it's not we're used to play like riff, verse, chorus, like the pop,
Yes.
you know? solo. And yeah, maybe the solo is super technical, difficult, but the structure of the song is the same.
Hmm.
While while the intro, for example, the instrumental, we spent hours in the practice room, like, oh, let's do again those part. You remember that? And then you struggle. But I mean, it's the fun process, you know. And then I mean, yeah, we care about playing gray because we really care about that. But if mistakes happen on stage, I mean, you just laugh, you know.
Hmm. You know,
It's
some
not.
of the most interesting times when I've been to a concert is not when a band has played everything note perfect, but
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
happened that threw it off just a bit, a mistake. They had to start all over again,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And that sticks
You
with me.
remember that.
Yeah.
I
It-
mean, I always complain with the guys, and they complain about me because I'm always the guy that, oh, in that section you were wrong, you know, because I'm that guy. Because probably because I wrote the parts, then I remember, and they always blame me. Hey, relax. We're having fun. We're playing. Something can happen, you know. And then I'm right, right. I'm not enjoying the moment. I'm just thinking about, oh, what if the guy takes those notes wrong? You know, I'm always thinking about that, and and I know it's a problem because I'm not many times in the past I didn't enjoy the live shows because of that.
Mhm.
But nowadays, I mean, yeah, in the beginning, there's a little bit of frustration because maybe we practiced the songs 100 times and it was always perfect. And then you go live and you miss that piece. You know, and it's a bit frustrating. But in the end, as you said, when you remember the old concerts, you always remember where something strange happened, you know?
Mhm.
When we toured in the past, we did like weeks of tours in Europe and we played great. But if I have to tell you, oh, which night was better, I don't remember. They were all the
Mhm.
same
Sure.
because you just repeat the same night over and over. It changes the venue, the people, but the performance is always the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
While we always talk about, oh, you remember in Milan, like 10 years ago when the drummer started with a totally different songs, and we laugh about that for
Yeah.
hours, you know. That
Sure.
you're 100% right about that.
Could I ask you about the song Final Call? Because as opposed to the epic, Final Call to me is sort of the fist pump, scream out, get into it kind of song. Um, Maybe a little bit more emotional as opposed to the intellectual part of the epic. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely. And honestly, I think this album, before I answer to the final call question, I think this album is a sort of transition between the old stuff and what we will do in the future. That
Hmm.
probably will be more like proggy, like the epic. I don't know. I mean, you never know, but this is our intention. But still, we had some stuff that are is more similar to the old stuff, like more straight rock, you know.
Yeah.
And that song started actually from my keyboard player because this is the only album where he wrote way more stuff than usual. Usually, it's just a few ideas here and there, but that song, except the middle part section, which is more proggy, more like, if you want, like Porcupine Tree kind of thing.
Yeah.
The
Hmm.
rest of the song, it's all from my keyboard player, and it's funny because he plays keyboard in the band, but he's always playing guitar like day and night.
Hmm.
So he came up with all these riffs that are really riffs from a guitar player, not from a keyboard player, and it's always hard for me to learn because he has his own style and I have my own style. So I'm always, why do you choose this chord instead of this? Oh, it sounds better. You know, that's our discussions. But yeah, that song came from him, and I was so pleased with the flow of the song. And we always had in every album, we always had one, I don't want to say simple song, but more, as you said, more like, okay, just play like rock and roll
Yeah.
style, you know? Because yeah, we love all the prog things, but we still love all. I mean, I'm still biggest fan of Rainbow, you know, like Van Halen, and all the, like, how do you call, like classic rock, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
hard rock. So we have that thing in our DNA too. So why don't do something like that?
Yeah, yeah,
And people, of course, people always love when we go live. People always love those kind of songs because it's easy, it's catchy, and it's memorable hooks.
yeah.
Hopefully,
And that's one of your strengths, to my way of thinking, is that whether it be the epic, the proggy type of song, or the more rock, there's some great hooks in those songs
oh, thank
that
you.
allow
Thank
one to really get into it.
I really thank you because this is the only thing we care about. I mean, really, honestly, we always spend. I mean, I can spend a year writing music, but then we spend maybe 2 years writing vocal lines because we're always trying to find the hooks that are like, oh, I want to sing that song over and over. I mean, and
Hmm.
not only the chorus, even the verse, the bridge. And I think this is my singer's most, I mean, how do you say, skill? Because he has this the choice of notes that he has when he improvises
Hmm.
is so it's so melodic. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
is from the really deep south of Italy, and I think this helps too, because this background of like I don't know if it's classical music or like whatever, like folk music or but this melodic thing that he has is it's really strong, and it's always been a band the first thing, the most important thing for the band. Really
Hmm.
more than riffs, solos, whatever. It's like, okay, we want to have memorable choruses and great melodic vocal lines.
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
Like Wiseman playing Kansas, sort of.
mhm.
I don't know if it makes sense,
Sure it does.
like
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure it does. Next to last question, and I'm sure you get hit with this a lot. DMG, the name. A, where does it come from? And how wild is it that it doesn't say much about where the band is today?
I mean, yeah, the name thing is it. We always laugh about that because it's for us. Yeah, the band existed before this actual lineup, which is actually the longest. I mean, they were always changing lineups, album after album in the past.
Yeah.
But when I joined the band and Marco, the singer, joined the band, we're still the same guys since I don't know, like 17 years, whatever. And for us, this is a new band, honestly. We never played the old stuff live, not because we don't like it, because it's different. It's
Sure.
totally different. And also the fans are different. I mean, people that follow us is different. And we honestly should have changed the name because DGM is like the initials of the founding members, whatever. And it's so funny that they're not in the band anymore. But actually, one of the three guys left the band after the first demo. So they should have changed name back then.
Yeah.
But then, when I joined the band, it was another time, and the guys they were playing all these big festivals. When I joined the band, I was 26, and 2 months after that, I played with Heaven on Hell, with Dio, with Dream Theater in the same stage, and all because the band had an history. So we
Yeah.
just kept. We had to keep the name. It
Hmm.
was. But nowadays, we always think about that. Why don't we change the name? We start over with a new project with the same guys, and then it's like we're the same guys, and we brought the name forward, and so you never know. But it's funny. The name thing is funny. But I hope that if new people discover us, for us, it's like they listen to the newest stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a new band, even if the people are like 50 years old or 45 years old. We're not a young.
As you mentioned, you joined the band around 2005.
Yeah.
So 20 years. And in society and culture nowadays, 20 years is one of those hallmark periods that, you sort of go, wow, it's an anniversary. It's an important anniversary. Um, Looking back on the band over 20 years since you joined and where it has gone in that, what do you think about it? Do you memorize, do you look back and think about where it has gone and how it has progressed, or is it one of those things where past is the past, I'm just interested in the now and future?
I think I'm all that. All the things you said, I'm all that. I mean, the band has been my life. It's not that I had only that thing, but to me it was always the priority. Like, I mean, all things in life were changing, like job, girlfriends, wife, and but the band always been there. And yeah, I regret some of the stuff in the past. Not music. I mean, music is whatever it was at the moment, right? But some decisions we made, contracts, labels, all many of that thing I regret.
Hmm.
A contract that we signed when we were younger and blah blah blah. And also, I feel like, oh, okay, I gave my whole life and soul and time. You don't imagine how much time I poured in the band, and we didn't have that great recognition. We're always struggling and fighting to gain this 1% more time after time.
Hmm.
So many times I look to the past and I'm like, oh, maybe I should stop. Why is that? I mean, why spending all this time and effort and headaches and whatever uh, for nothing, basically? I mean, not nothing. But then the past comes back, but with the great memories. We've
Hmm.
been to America, we've been to Japan, and then I'm like, how many people that I met in life, they did all these things. They release albums, they talk to people from all around the globe about my music, and then I get excited like I was at 16 years old.
Yeah.
So it's always, for me at least, it's always this high and lows. But then when it's high, it's great. It fills my life and I'm so energetic and when I finish a song and I sing to the guys, when I have the CD now the vinyl, I'm more excited about the vinyl. When I get the vinyl after I work on an album for 3 years, every evening, in my studio, I get so excited like when I was like really like 30 years ago. So I don't look back as a nostalgic because yeah, we did something great in the past, but I'm still hoping we're doing great things in the future. Maybe I know now, maybe 20 years ago I was hoping to becoming a rock star, or maybe I will become the new Dream Theater, or
Sure.
whatever. Now I know it probably won't happen, but then the music brought me so many good things. I mean, my daily job is in music. Through the band, I met
Yes.
almost all my clients. I recorded and mixed all my idols. Romeo from Symphony X, Ray Alder, all these great musicians. I recorded and mixed them, and so it's always coming back to the band. And most important, the guys in the band are like family. And as you can imagine, as you know, you have lots of high and lows in the family, because especially with bands, people change perspective on things, and the priority is not always the same for the five guys in the band.
Yeah.
Many times I found myself like bringing the guys in. Hey guys, we should do another record. Oh, I don't care. I don't care. It's over. Maybe. Yeah. And then they do another record. Then we do some great shows, and then they're carrying me. So it's like a family, and everybody's helping each other. So it's a great story that I don't think. Yeah, it's 20 years, but to me, it's like it's not 20 years. It's like I'm again. If I'm on that high moment, it feels like I started yesterday.
Hmm.
If I'm on the low, I feel like, oh, 20 years. They're heavy on my shoulders,
Yeah.
right? But
Hmm.
then I know the high moment, the highest moment will come. So it's like I don't know, maybe the band gives me like a stability that I
Sure.
like a
Hmm.
balance that I always struggle to search in my personal life. I don't know if this answer, sorry, my English is always like
No,
going
no,
like
you're right on. And if you on those highs think that the last 20 years has gone by like this, the next 20 years will go by even faster.
oh, okay.
That, that's
Oh,
the way
it's a
it
good
works,
or
I think. You know,
okay.
what a pleasure it's been to talk with you. I really
Ah,
appreciate your
likewise.
time.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great interview. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Simone Mularoni, guitarist, uh, bottle washer, cook, everything else that you might think about with the great Italian band DGM and their latest album, and I endorse this album a great deal. It is
Thank you.
a change, and yet it is the same. There is that element that says DGM, and it is called Echoes. And I suggest you go out and get it as quickly as you can. It's been out since October, and now is the time. Don't overlook it. Go ahead and get it now. Um, my name is Mark Boardman. I'm with Sonic Perspectives. And for the latest in news, music reviews, and interviews, go to sonicperspectives.com right there on your internet.